Good morning, viewers, and today we are indeed going to be responding to a video by PragerU, actually a few videos on cultural appropriation. And since we're doing on cultural appropriation, I tried to dress as white as possible. Got the red, white, and blue aviator glasses in a respect or in homage to the Top Gun movies, a Georgetown hat and a brown shirt, which is a representation of the most liberal school in the USA, I suppose. Apart from the UCs, I heard you guys are pretty liberal over there as well. It is the response and reviewing meta right now on YouTube, so I'll be doing this response, and hopefully you enjoy it. Of course, I could talk more about the Chinese one, because I'm Chinese myself. I'm as Asian as you get, growing up in Hong Kong all my life. So let's go on and talk about, or just watch this. I find it quite interesting.
Ni hao, friends. This is Will Witt with PragerU. Today we are at UCLA talking to college students about my costume for Halloween and wondering what they think about cultural appropriation. Let's do it. Oh.
I mean, before we get into this video, I'd like to note that, in my perspectives, if you do something like that, there's nothing wrong in the sense of offensive with it. However, the Chinese response to that would be, you absolute idiot. It's not anything in a mean way or anything like that, but it's kind of like if a friend looked at what I'm doing right now, they will say, you idiot. It's more so in the sense of saying, well, what you're doing is just stupid, you're an embarrassment to yourself, but, well, it's quite kind of funny, so let's go on with it.
Do you like my outfit? No? Why not? Ni hao. Ni hao. Ni hao. People know what ni hao means? It means hello. Ni hao. Hello.
With these two people keep seeing, oh man.
Come back and talk to me.
Getting offended, mate. People getting
Did you get
offended.
that?
You're not even Chinese.
How you doing? You like my costume?
You are a
Do you think?
I mean, you see what I mean by there, right? I mean, let me put my glasses back on so I can see a bit better. But I mean, you see right there. I mean, I don't think he's like doing this because he's getting offended. I mean, he's not.
You like my costume?
He's not. I mean, he's not Chinese, right? But
do you think this is cultural appropriation?
Finding it quite funny in that sense.
Cultural appropriation?
Oh man, you're some.
Yes. Come talk to me. It is not Chinese Awareness Month, but Halloween is coming up. Like my outfit?
I mean, not particularly.
Why are you wearing it?
To celebrate Chinese people for Halloween.
I think that is cultural appropriation.
Someone's culture or what they wear isn't a costume.
Fair enough. Do you think like eating Chinese food is like cultural appropriation?
No, I eat Chinese food.
Just celebrating Chinese culture.
Some white dude just you know, wearing Japanese attire.
It's Chinese, you shouldn't assume.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, those Japanese aren't very good. They're like the, how do you call it? They're like the Nazi Germany of Asia. That's basically what the Japanese are. So I mean, probably confusing the Chinese for the Japanese is a worse insult to Chinese people than doing some cultural appropriation stuff, right? I mean, it is on a bit of a different level. So now, before we carry on, I do have to say I do sympathize with some of the people who disagree with him in the sense that he is dressing it up for Halloween, so it's quite clear that he has a bit of a sarcastic tone to wearing the shirt, so he's not really doing it to celebrate Chinese culture, as he is saying. So, I mean, there is that thing which detracts from his overall argument. Nevertheless, I do think it's quite funny how people randomly are getting offended by this, especially people who do seem quite snowflakes and aren't exactly white. But it is what it is. Everyone are indeed entitled to their opinion, even though it is incorrect.
A little racist of you. It's a good color.
Okay. Strikes me as pretty insensitive.
Really? Why is that?
Because it's from another cultural tradition that is not really something you should be like using as a costume, really.
Chinatown.
I look good?
What?
Awesome.
But, I mean, you can just look at the guy's face, you know? I mean, you could just see the guy just thinks the guy's absolutely ridiculous. He's like, are you serious? Are you doing something ridiculous? Like, it's not one of the things that you find offense in any way, shape, or form. It's just like, this guy's just out of his mind. He's lost his balls. He lost his marbles. That's the expression is, and that's just kind of what's going on in his mind, I think.
Awesome. Does my outfit make you mad?
No, good.
Good?
Yeah.
Shay Shay. Is that thank you?
Yeah. Do
you have to be Chinese to wear this?
You don't have to. Anybody can wear.
What do you think of my outfit?
我很喜欢你这种衣服。
But you can look at the face. It's kind of awkward. It's like, what is this guy doing? I mean, of course they're not getting offended because that's exactly the Chinese culture, right? In Chinese tradition, you don't get offended by things that quickly. You just kind of feel kind of bad for the person. And the most you'll go is like, okay, this guy's just extremely embarrassing. He's embarrassing himself for that matter. But in the same way, it's not in some way in which you'll be, oh my gosh, this guy offended me. Oh my gosh, now my entire culture is, I'm being racially abused. Like, of course, that's not what's going through their minds here.
It's hard to see in this hat.
And if she thinks he's Mexican.
What does that mean?
Sorry. Bonito's
Gonna go
Spanish.
good.
It's not
You
even
like my
Chinese.
outfit?
Not even Chinese. It's quite funny. I mean, it's Bonito's Spanish, which means beautiful. So it's quite clear that to the Chinese person, she thinks that he is not Chinese, dressing up as a Chinese, but a Mexican, or at least thinks he's a Mexican. So I mean, it is quite a funny situation. Everyone's misunderstanding each other's cultures, perhaps, or what they're meant to represent.
Quite a bit? Oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
I personally don't see any problem with any of this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the first.
Really? I mean, that's not surprising. That's I forgot where I go to school.
Do you think as a
Yeah,
white
no,
person I can wear this?
I say whatever you want, just as long as you're not like offensive or like saying racially offensive things.
Yeah.
Just be respectful. You can wear it.
Oh, have you ever been to China?
I've never been to China, but I've been to Chinatown.
Oh, great.
This is where I got the outfit.
Yeah, kids like this, the drum. Yeah, the little kids like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like a little kid.
Uh-huh. It looks very cool.
Shay Shay,
Yeah, you.
you like my outfit?
I don't know. It's all right. It's I'm actually from Hong Kong, so
Oh, really?
it's very straight back home.
Yeah, there you go.
But like not quite, even like more so, probably exaggerated back home.
Yeah. You Chinese?
Yeah, I'm Chinese.
Okay. Do you get offended by this costume?
I mean, like it doesn't bother me. I feel like you let everything get to you like that. You're not gonna get to the bigger problem,
Yeah,
right?
you still
Shay Shay,
think-
for watching this video.
Yeah, there's a reason why I didn't apply to the UCs at all, though. I mean, we'll figure out where I end up next year, but it is one of those crazy things, you know. I mean, people do get offended quite a lot. The UCs are like the top of the list, so that's why I didn't apply to them at all when I was looking for universities. And what I was about to say about the culture, you know, in Chinese culture, it's all about being very quiet. It's all about keeping your thoughts to yourself, and you shouldn't really be outstepping your own boundary of friends. Like, you would be able to say, like, if you're close to someone, like, if one of my lads did that, I'd be like, what the hell are you on about, mate? But, like, if someone else did it in the street, I'm not going to go approach him and say, you're like an idiot or anything. Of course, if you ask for my opinion, I'd be like, yeah, that's decent. Like, you're not going to get offended by the action, but you might just think, well, all right, this guy's a bit stupid, but let me keep that in my own head. That's kind of the Chinese culture. So perhaps when you're looking at what the Asians, especially in Chinatown, were talking about, they would say, of course, what they positively thought about, which is it's a decent outfit. It's a really nice outfit, because it is a very nice outfit, what he's wearing. I mean, I'll wear that for Chinese New Year sometimes. Of course, colors might be a bit different. I would be wearing red instead of orange. However, at the same time, like, if someone else did it, I'll be like, yeah, the guy's taking the piss. And not in a mean way, right? It's kind of like a comedian. They're taking the piss. It's part of their job. It's quite fun. It's quite nice. But at the same time, you probably wouldn't hear that because it's just part of Chinese culture that you don't say these things out loud. So that's just something that you might want to just keep in the back of the mind when you're interacting with Chinese people, especially if you're Western viewers right now watching this video. Now, let's turn on to the Mexican one, which should be a bit shorter, but I'll put down 2 times.
Hola amigos, this is Will with PragerU. Today we're at UCLA talking to college students and on Olvera Street talking to Hispanics in honor of Halloween and to see if my outfit is offensive. Dang it. Would you guys like to chat with us today? No? That's what we want to talk to you about. Hola. You find my outfit offensive?
Just yeah.
You find it offensive? Do you find it offensive?
Maybe a little.
Do you think my outfit is offensive?
Are you Mexican?
No.
Yes.
I think it reaffirms stereotypes that are offensive to people.
You think people really think Mexican people are like this and carry around marachas?
No, I don't think people actually think that.
Do you find my outfit offensive?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's not your culture.
Cultural appropriation? Why do you say that?
Because you're not like Mexican.
You think Mexican food is like cultural appropriation?
No.
Someone else's culture that we've kind of taken. Is this cultural appropriation? No comment.
You don't really understand what their culture means and what it means to wear these things, like the hats and the maracas. And you sort of have to understand where all of this comes from for it to not be cultural appropriation.
It's not
You know, actually, the funny thing is that, like, even though I disagree with this entire cultural appropriation argument, it's at least good to see that one person has given some form of argument about it, because if we looked at the last video, if we looked at this video, no one has really actually given it a proper argument, a formalized kind of defense of why cultural appropriation is bad. They're just like, oh, that's bad, it's cultural appropriation. Just as kind of like the Nazis in Germany were like, oh, that guy's bad because he's a Jew. They gave absolutely no reason for why the person was bad or why being a Jew was bad. And the same way a lot of times in society today, and this is something which is very, very important, I always stress on this channel, is that you can't just say, oh, that's bad because it's X. You have to say that's bad because it's X, and why is X bad because of some further reason. You have to give rationalizations. You have to rationalize your arguments and your beliefs. You can't just say that's bad because the guy's whatever. And that's essentially what's so bad about racism, right? It's like saying, well, that guy's bad because he's African American, that guy's bad because he's Chinese, and you have absolutely no reason for why you believe it. It's just like these small kind of ideas or thoughts which just come out of nowhere, and you're like, yes, I'll just catch on to them without thinking about anything at all. So it's very important that you actually find a reason for why you believe it. You can disagree with people, right? I mean, there's a good argument for why cultural appropriation is bad as well, right? So there's always things which you can think about, but then you always have to give that reason. So there's no problem if you disagree with cultural appropriation per se, or there's no problem if you agree with cultural appropriation, right? It doesn't matter exactly what it is, but you just have to make sure that you have a reason for your belief. And that reason is the most important thing, more so than the action itself. You must be able to justify it. And I think that girl just there was actually, if I could assume her gender, is perhaps the best representation of that. It's like, even though they disagree, there's a reason for that disagreement. But apart from that, that's like out of how much minutes, like the 6-7 minutes of videos, that's the only time that actually occurs.
Yours.
Can I just ask you, do you like my costume?
I like your message.
Does my outfit offend you?
No, you look nice.
Thank you. Do you like my costume?
Yes.
Does it offend you?
No. No, nothing. That's good.
Me, guapo?
It's beautiful.
Guapo? Are you guys insulting me?
No.
Insulting me in Spanish? Do you like my outfit?
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Does my outfit offend you?
No, not at all.
Some people get offended by what I'm wearing.
No, it's not offensive. I think it's you're in the right atmosphere. Único dice de mostacho, no original.
No, no original. Do you know who?
I mean, you look at the situation, right? I mean, I think Mexican culture is quite similar to Chinese culture in the sense that like they don't get offended, right? They're not offended by it, but they're more like, okay, this guy is doing something a bit ridiculous in that sense. It's not necessarily something which is like, oh my gosh, I really hate you for it because you're offending us. It's more so I completely accept what you're doing. It's quite funny, but at the same time, it is a bit suspicious as well.
Wearing.
No, it's not offensive. I think it's you're in the right atmosphere. Único dice de mostacho, no original.
No original.
I mean, I
Do you know who
have to
sold
admit, the
this?
mustache looks quite good on
Mexicans.
him.
Oh, really?
I grow it.
So you're white and you get offended, but then Mexican people who sold me this and made me this don't get offended.
Yes.
Seems kind of weird, doesn't it?
I love it actually.
Think it's offensive?
No, not at all.
Some people get really offended by this. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Just you're not Mexican, so people think that you have to be Mexican to wear that.
I'm celebrating Mexico.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Are you Mexican?
I am.
See?
I'm not wearing it.
See? That's okay. Maybe we should swap out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the funny thing, right? You know, like, at the end of the day, people get offended by anything. I have loads of examples where people get offended by what I say when it's the most obvious thing ever. So, I mean, that is life. We have to kind of just deal with it. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe and goodbye. I'll see you soon.